Hello, everyone. My name is Nasser Deeb. I'm the show director of Halal Expo Canada. We're excited today to have the opportunity to host another webinar by Halal Expo. This topic will be the North American halal industry in focus. Before we begin, I would like to give you an overview of our event, Halal Expo Canada. Just to give you, for the people who are not aware of the show, Halal Expo Canada had its first successful debut on October 8 to 9, 2019. Thanks to all our local and international sponsors, exhibitors, and supporters who contribute to its success. Halal Expo Canada 2022 is going to be the North American only B2B event dedicated to the halal lifestyle industry, and is scheduled to be held this year from May 12 to 14. And it will be a key meeting point for buyers, suppliers, and investors, both domestic and international. Exhibiting products cover most halal lifestyle, including food and beverage to franchise, fashion, cosmetics, health, hygiene, finance, investment, e-commerce, and logistics to travel, tourism, and more. This year, we expect to attract more than 100 exhibitors and 3,000 plus attendees from national and international. Till date, we have secured the participation of more than 73 exhibitors from Canada, Turkey, USA, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and we expect to have more to join in the coming weeks. Besides the rich content of the conference, program that will gather distinguished speakers from local and international. We are also adding new features to the show, such as, but not limited to, fashion show, cooking demo, and more. For more details and updates, please check the event website, halalexpocanada.com. Now, just to give you a brief about the main objective of the webinar is to further strengthen the presence of halal offering in North America, and especially in Canada, and how the combined efforts from industry to regulators are playing a major role in maintaining the value and benefits of halal healthy living. This can be achieved through some of the following: to give consumers the confidence for this industry, and to inform them that halal industry is prevalent and it's growing, and it's more innovative, more creative, and more trendy. To give more insights about the halal industry in North America and its recent development, I would like to introduce my distinguished panelists who represent different areas and different segments of the industry. Please help me, join me to welcome the first panelist, Mr. Nabeel Ishtiaq, who is a manager on brands Sobeys, Maple Leaf Food Incorporated, and worked for a number of years in the marketing and brand development of Maple Leaf halal brand Mina Halal. And my second panelist, Mr. Sheikh Omar Subedar, Chief Operating Officer of the Halal Monitoring Authority (HMA), and known to many of playing a key role in the development of halal certification in Canada. And last but not least, Sister Yvonne Maffei, creator of My Halal Kitchen, the first halal recipe and culinary resource website for halal consumers, gaining an organic followers of over 1.5 million followers on Facebook and other social media platforms. To start the webinar, we're going to begin asking a few questions in general to the panelists, and we will expect each one to answer it individually. The first question I would like to ask the panelists, what have you noticed about the halal industry in the last 2 years in terms of trends and development? We start with Nabeel.
Yeah, thank you. In the last couple of years, what we've seen is essentially what we've seen over the last decade, which is that halal continues to grow, and it's growing at a faster pace. Excuse me. And when I'm talking about growth here, I'm really referring to the Canadian market in which I operate. And it's certainly true of what we see in North America as a whole. So the United States would be included in that. Halal is growing and is growing faster than total grocery when we think about just the food space. To give you one example, frozen box products, when I look at that category, it's growing 3 times faster than the total category when we look at all halal and non-halal included in that. And a lot of that is with consumers demanding more products. So it's through innovation, new products that are not in the category today. We're under indexed, so to speak, when we look at the amount of products available to the general population and what's available to Muslims. So there's a lot of that is through innovation, but also through assimilation. Customers are feeling more confident and are looking for more than they have ever been in the past. So it continues to grow, and retailers are certainly noticing that, and it's reflected in the assortment and the distribution that's now present in the Canadian market that I can speak to for sure. If you look 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the distribution level and the assortment levels have tripled, if not quadrupled, in that time frame.
Great. This is very insightful information. Thank you, Nabeel, for sharing that with us. And now we move to Sheikh Omar to answer the same question. If you can give us also your perspective on this.
First and foremost, good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to everyone that is watching this webinar. I do echo the information that Nabeel has shared. A couple of other things that we have noticed is that at least on the manufacturing side and on the production side, there's more consciousness of animal welfare and how the standards of animal welfare that have been recently developed, how can they become in sync with halal standards, where at times there may be some form of differences, but then what is the middle ground that we can come to and work together on? So that's something that has been a big focus as of late. Another thing that we're also seeing is that there is a lot more inquiries from different areas of the industry regarding halal and certification that we've never seen before. So nowadays our inbox is getting flooded and the phones are ringing a bit more than normal. And I guess what happens is that in the pandemic that we are now coming out of, we saw that people were becoming more inquisitive about food products more than they were before. There could be different factors behind that, but because the public has become more vocal, the industry has become more aware and they're asking more questions as a result and more clarity and direction in this area.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Omar. This is great, good information as well. We appreciate that. Now we jump to our sister Yvonne to give us her insights and her perspective from living in the US.
Thank you, Brother Nasser. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And thank you so much for having this awesome topic. I'm so excited to be here and discuss this because it's really exciting what we're seeing, especially in the last couple of years. What I've noticed from a cooking, restaurant perspective, I mean, we think a lot of things have been closed up and they have been. I'm in Southern California, and of course, we see a lot of innovation here, but I think particularly the halal space, the Muslim community has been gearing towards a lot of innovative food combinations. I'm seeing sort of like Korean mixed with Mexican food, a lot of food trucks popped up more and more. I see a lot more support for local businesses because people really, couldn't go too far to go into restaurants and things like that. And so I see a lot of online activity, people really supporting local chefs and entrepreneurs, online bakeries. And I'm talking about things that are not necessarily what you would think of as halal, but sort of out of the box, different kinds of ethnic varieties of food. I've seen like some Italian bakery foods pop up, which really excited me because that's what I'm all about, is like taking any global cuisine halal. So people are really getting creative and supportive. And I think they're really also looking at how sustainable the food producers are. They're looking at, like Sheikh Omar said, you know, animal welfare, paying closer attention, because I think we've had time in the past couple of years to sort of take a step back and think about these things. From a food product perspective, I'm getting way more inquiries about you know, how to address the Muslim community, the halal consumer, from brands that are not necessarily in the halal space at all. They just want to, you know, make their products halal and make sure that they're branded and certified as halal. So that's a big difference I've seen, you know, since the 13 years I've been in this, that I think more and more brands are realizing that they can really enter this market and satisfy consumer demands, and they want to do that in the right way. So that's really cool and exciting.
Well, that's interesting. And I remember you mentioned to me that we had discussion prior to the webinar, and you were saying that people were willing to drive hour to hour just to go to a trendy place that is halal. And it's not, when I first moved to Canada, halal was only limited to halal biryani, halal kebab, but now I'm seeing a complete different paradigm shift. It's a complete different change in the halal spectrum. Like I've seen places like so trendy where young people hang out for ice cream or different snacks, but not necessarily what we used to in North America, which is basically authentic food, or it's more now getting into all different tastes. And I mentioned that to me.
I think the culinary world in general is about to have some really cool things to be seen, because there's so many different chefs and young people who are creating and who are experimenting, and they're fusing cuisines naturally. You know, like maybe their parents come from two different cultures, and they're making interesting tacos and interesting plates of food. I've just seen so many cool things, and you know, I think the greater culinary world is really going to benefit from all this stuff. It's just a matter of time, I think, before they're going to, you know, like have their own TV shows and stuff, because there's some really interesting things and tasty and delicious stuff that's coming out, and they're doing it so well.
I mean, we also we just not a year ago, I think we welcome one of the new exhibitors, Chaiwala. I think it's Chaiwala. It's a UK-based franchise that wanted to open in Canada, and they chose us to be the gateway to the market, to the Canadian market. And we see that a lot with we have also a Bosnian delights meats, and also launching their commercial brands throughout the markets. So it's getting there in different ways. We see it because we are, as organizers, we see people are coming to us with different brands, different products, new products. Aside from the top brands like Mina Halal, who are a big supporter as well from the start. So now I think that answered my second question, which is I think we are in a stronger position at this stage. We are not being idle the last 2 years, which is in the contrary. I think things have been reinvented, been more innovation. People are becoming more creative, as you mentioned. So that's a good thing. I think this was good. How to say, it was a blessing from the sky to see it in the halal industry during this challenging time. And I think this is a good indicator that halal is the right way and it's the best way to healthy living, I would say. And I think this is something we should be proud of as a community and as a business of that industry. So to jump in, and I really appreciate all of your insight. You guys are expert in your field. I'm learning so much from you as well. But I'm going to go to more specific questions to each one of you. I'm going to start with Mina Halal, Mr. Nabeel. As a manufacturer, what have you done to improve your halal offerings to keep up with the ongoing development in the industry? Have you done anything particular, especially in the last 2 years? Did you come up with something new that is not traditional, or something that is or some more credible offering that to make sure that everything is within the standard?
For sure. So there's a couple of streams in the way we look at the business, because halal is, one is the claim halal. It's just that's, as a Muslim, you look for that as a starting point. But beyond that, because Muslims come from all backgrounds and all walks of life, it often translates to ethnic food, and it translates into different flavors that we could bring to within our rich culture of Muslims, bring it all together and make it available to the masses in our own countries here in North America. So the first stream, which is the halal consumer, with the halal consumer, what we've seen, and I mentioned just a few minutes ago, is the amount of product in the assortment is really limited, what they have available to them. And frankly, as someone who grew up here, I could, remember maybe nuggets and burgers and strips. Like, you could have 15 brands selling nuggets and burgers and strips. And the only difference was the price point. And all of them were relatively low quality products. But what we've seen is, as consumers become more confident in their identity as Canadian Muslims or American Muslims, they're comfortable in asking for what they want. And what they want is what everybody else has: good quality food that they can trust, and they can feel comfortable and confident and happy to feed their children. And so when we look at that and combine that with the fact that the Muslim population in North America is 10 years younger than the average population. So we're younger. We want what others have, which is good food to feed our kids. And about 60 or 70%, don't recall the exact number now, but a vast majority of the Muslims in Canada and specifically, don't know the number for North US, are made up of young families and maturing families, which means you've got kids at home. As a parent who's got kids at home and that you want to feed with limited options, you're looking for something better. And so, taking all of that information and understanding the consumer, because we are the consumer and we understand what the consumer. I've got 3 kids of my own, and I know what the consumers want. Sheikh Omar Subedar, who's always been a huge supporter and a person and an organization, an institution on himself that we go to for insights as well, to understand what do consumers want. We've taken that information and translated it into this. It was about 4 years ago. We were the first brand, Mina Halal, in Canada to have no artificial colors or flavors in the halal space. I'm talking about high in protein, Canadian farm raised, these claims on our packaging. And we have a manifesto for our brand, which dictates that we'll use clean ingredients, and we won't use artificial colors or flavors, and we'll stay true to good quality products for our consumers, that we would feel confident and happy in feeding our children. So we've made that change. So it was sort of our first phase of change, was that bringing in higher quality products so consumers can feel good about it, and we can close that gap. The second gap for that consumer is the lack of assortment. And so we innovated in that space through products and assortment, products that consumers, in some cases, were actually used to eating back home, wherever they came from. And so we brought some of those flavors, like Supreme Crunch burgers, spicy burgers, like, often most of us on this call would know them as Zinger burgers. If you live in the Middle East or Pakistan, every restaurant's got a Zinger burger. So it's sort of that Zinger burger experience, because we know consumers want that. And then North American flavors that consumers are looking for and are trendy. That's one side of it. So we're making the life of halal consumers easier. That's what one thing our brand has done. The other that Maple Leaf Food has done is we're looking at how do we take our culture and cuisine and the diversity within it and bring it to the masses, because all of the data that's around us would tell us that everybody in North America wants a shawarma. And they want butter chicken, and they want tikka masala, and they want biryani, and they want all the things that we love from our own cultures. And so when you think about halal guys, they don't have hundreds of locations serving just to Muslims in North America. It's everybody. So sort of take those insights, and what we've done is we've launched just recently within the pandemic. To your point, with Nasser, we didn't stop. We continue pushing forward. We launched 3 products that are essentially kits So you've got a butter chicken kit, and not to promote the products, I'm trying to give you the idea of what the product is. It's you get the sauce and the rice and the meat in a pack, so you could assemble the food at home and cook it yourself. And we did this to make the experience of halal food or ethnic food, let's call it, available to everybody in Canada. So everybody could bring it home and try it for themselves because they're scared to cook it from scratch. So that's sort of the second stream. Is halal is a starting point, but the rest of the qualifiers of great taste and great quality is what we're bringing to all Canadians. So in a way, halal isn't just for the 2 million Muslims that live in Canada or 1.7 million Muslims that live in Canada. We are looking to expand it beyond that and make it for everybody. But keep in mind, in that case, it's really flavor first and it's taste first, and that's what we're bringing to the consumer.
Okay, that's sounds interesting. And you talk about the butter chicken. It's actually, you're right. It's not easy to cook, so that makes every wife and mother happy because they don't have to cook anymore. So just buy it and do it. But that's interesting, and I'm glad to hear that everybody is reinventing, trying to get some new ideas, and trying to make halal more versatile and more covers a bigger audience and a bigger cultures, and not necessarily the Muslim community, and for everybody. Halal is for everyone, not for just Muslims, and that's what a good message I think that you just mentioned. Now, to jump to the next question, which is addressed to Sheikh Omar, as a halal certifier, have you looked at the new innovative ways to support the industry and further improve the credibility of halal products, particularly when it comes to ensuring the process of halal standards?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, before I do answer that question, Nabeel, I do want to say that spicy crunchy burger is my favorite burger. I love that burger. I'm not doing that. He didn't pay me to do this promo, but I'm just saying it's a brilliant product. I love it. I want to also say is that there's a lot of commonalities within the philosophy of MENA and HMA. One being that halal needs to be mainstream. It should not be confined to just the Muslim consumer. And that is one of the parting advices our our former chairman, who's now passed on, Maulana Yusuf Patel, had actually given us. He told us that make halal easy, accessible, and as widespread as possible. So on that note, now when it comes to answering this question, in the pandemic, the HMA was looking at different ways to try and create more efficiency in its processes, and not to just focus on the certification component, but to provide services which are above and beyond that. And it would be more of going in the route of being a halal market solution company, rather than just giving a certificate, because we all know, those of us who are watching this, that certification has become very saturated. Anyone can become a certifier now. And there's like always a new certifier that's coming on the block. So just by having a halal certificate and saying that it's backed by this particular organization, that doesn't have the credibility that it used to have once upon a time. And given that our processes at the HMA are second to none in the entire North America, problem is that many people are not going to be aware of all the work that we have to do at the back end to provide that that assurance that this is halal certified. So we listen to the consumer. There's groups that we're on, and one of the areas that we were being told about where we haven't paid a lot of attention to is the restaurant industry. You'll notice that if you go on our website, there's not a lot of restaurants that we have certified, and that's by design. It wasn't a business that we were running after. Our focus was more on getting halal products into the big supermarkets. So when people are shopping there, they don't have to go to a secondary place to pick up halal products. It's all in one place. That's what our focus was for the longest of time. However, when it comes to the pandemic experience, we saw that, people are ordering a lot from restaurants. And if you look at HMA certified restaurants, your options are very limited. So one of the factors behind our reluctance in going after that business was the amount of work that is required for assurance. Many people just focus on the meat. And I'll tell you, the meat is the easiest issue to solve. But when it comes to the ingredients, when it comes to all of these other products which are going into that restaurant, that takes a lot of time to vet, to go through. It could take months at time. And then at the same time, there's consistency issues, because depending on the size of the restaurant, sometimes they will be outsourcing all of their supplies to a third party that we just order from you, you bring everything to us. And sometimes they're going and shopping themselves. If it's a smaller type of restaurant, they'll go to the Costco and pick up whatever is cheap. Now, if you have, say, for example, a particular dessert, right? It's probably a cheesecake, okay? But a cheesecake coming from one company versus another company, there's going to be a big difference between the two. So if the lack of consistency is what was a headache for us, but we've gone ahead and solved that problem by pairing with one of the largest food distributor in Canada, that is Cisco. And we've been working with them since the late November of 2020. We've been going through all of their products that they have shared with us, vetting them, and now coming up with a halal catalog where now we can go to the restaurant and we can offer them that, hey, we can take care of you from A to Z. You have this one-stop shop solution, and you don't have to worry about shopping. You don't have to worry about price, because the prices are very competitive. And at the same time, you don't have to worry about lack of supply, because that will also be taken care of. So that's a program that we have just rolled out this month. We've already started approaching different outlets, and we hope that hopefully this is going to solve that one big void, that gap that was existing within our thing, what's it called, area of focus. So that's one of the things that we've been working on a lot as of late.
I'm so happy to hear that things are moving forward and things are developing in the halal space, which is really great. And I think this is give us more positive spirit, and to further support the halal and further support the halal living. And I think it's going to continue to grow in this part of the world. There are more people are demanding halal products and services, and I think it will just kind of continue growing, and hopefully we'll be able to create that that platform for through the show to get these people to meet locally, internationally, because we need also international players to come in and help us out grow this industry in a minority industry, which is, in North America, we are not the major population. We are a minority still, but the halal is growing, and as a brand, and as a business, and as a way of living. Now moving to the next panelist, Sister Yvonne from Halal Kitchen, My Halal Kitchen. Being based in the US, you've seen a lot of things and experienced a lot of changes and trends in the halal food. And you mentioning about how the millennium generation is reacting to it. Can you give us a bit more of an insight and before we move into the audience questions?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think the millennials are just a really exciting group of young people. They have really shaken up the mindset of those of us who are looking to understand, what they want, and in such good ways, because I think they're really about holding us to a high standard, what halal truly is. They're into health and wellness. They have disposable income to travel, to go to restaurants. And if something doesn't meet a halal standard for them in terms of the meat, they'll go to something vegetarian or vegan. I know this because I'm part of all these groups, and I watch what they're doing, and I see where they're going, and they're just really interesting people. They go to places, countries that are not Muslim at all, and try to explore those places that and find what's halal in them. And that's right up my alley, because I'm always promoting that idea of make anything halal. The thing is that they really kind of want it all, and they can get it. They know they're more confident in who they are, they respect and love the traditions they come from, their parents come from, but they're also out of the box thinkers. And so for anybody who's going to be a restaurant owner or a product creator, a food product creator, really have to pay attention to what they're saying, what they're doing, where they're putting their money. They want a good value. They want a neat experience, something unique. So anybody in that like sort of travel space really needs to pay attention to that, because the whole halal travel culinary world is growing because of them. And they, even when they go to restaurants, they want that experience. I see it all online. They're very digital, obviously. They will proudly support someone that they think is doing something great, and talk about the background story of a chef or a restaurant owner, to get more people to support them. And this is important because it indicates transparency, and they want that transparency from the businesses that are putting out those products. So for years, I've been telling business owners, you know, tell your story, or find somebody who will help you tell your story. Make sure your website has the background of what you're doing, where you're sourcing your products. These millennials want to know that. And if you can't answer those questions, they will pass you over and go to somebody who can. And I think that the industry of halal needs to also say, you know, it's not all about the meat all the time. Can we make vegan products, vegetarian products, gluten-free products? We really just have to pay attention to the whole sustainability factor. What's healthy, what's clean. They want the whole package. And if you aren't going to provide it, they're going to go to people who can, even if they're not halal certified. So that's something really important that we need to pay attention to. And I think it's a great thing, because it's really going to hold us up, our standards to halal, to where it should be, halal and tayyib.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. And I'm so happy that to announce also that we just partner with My Halal Kitchen to promote both our platforms, the Halal Expo and My Kitchen, My Halal Kitchen. So we are also happy to announce that we will be doing the demo, the cooking demo on site during the show, performed by Chef Yvonne or Sister Yvonne, and she will show us in person and show us on site how we can utilize halal products in different recipes, different ways, not just the traditional food that we eat. There are other creative ways to use halal products. And that's something that we are excited about. Now, we're gonna start jumping to the questions. We received some questions prior to the webinar. I don't know, I will ask the questions, and if you feel that you want to answer, you can just let us know, and we will we'll let you answer it. So the first question is, I think that's directly directed to Sheikh Omar. Is the Halal Monitoring Authority of Canada actively visiting to inspect ingredient used in both pharma and nutraceutical in Canada? Sheikh Omar?
Yeah, whatever company is going to send their application in, then yes, we're going to go ahead and go through every single ingredient to ensure that it's within compliance of our standards. Are we going and then just randomly checking companies? No, we don't provide that service. We don't have the resources to provide that service. So when a company does come to us and they're going to send an application in, then yes, we're going to go through every single ingredient before we hand out any certificate.
And when you do the process, particularly for medicine, for example, that trying to avoid the gelatin, that it's pork gelatin or things like that.
Well, it's much more complicated than that. That's like all surface level stuff.
Yeah, would you outsource it, or would you send it to a lab that analyzes and give you the result, or how would you go with the process?
No, well, basically the process is that we already have certain identifiers. So we ourselves have an in-house list of over 12,000 ingredients where we've already segmented them into halal, haram, and what is doubtful. And it's normally the doubtful area where it requires more work, where we have to correspond with the manufacturers of that ingredient. We have to get certain assurances. Normally we ask for lacto-ovo certificates, which would then alleviate any concerns about animal byproducts being in that ingredient or so forth. Do we go to the length of getting the product and testing that in a lab? No, we don't do that. We don't see the necessity to do that, especially here in North America, where there's a great amount of transparency. When things are in writing, then there's obviously liabilities associated with that, right? So it's that's pretty much what we suffice with. It's the correspondence that we do with the different companies and get everything in writing. And then when it comes to going to the actual manufacture of the product, we will go and inspect every single thing that's being declared to ensure consistency between what you said and what's there on the manufacturing floor.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting to know, and I think it's another area that is growing, especially particularly in the vitamins, because we did, as you know, we did have some vitamin companies at the show that halal vitamins.
We have one that's going to be certified in the next few weeks. Well, the contract's already been signed. You're going to see the products rolling out very soon, and I'm really excited about it.
We'd love to see them at the show too.
Yeah.
And this is interesting, and I see it's important to have all that process, and particularly when it comes to medicine and vitamins, like supplement, because a lot of us now using more supplement than ever because of what's really happened in the last 2 years. People are more into vitamin C, vitamin A, D, and vitamin, the calcium, all the stuff. People are taking more and more than ever because they want to be, protected against any unexpected viruses or things like that. So the other question that came out, I'm interested in the specs required to be halal compliant on our existing products, and what key ingredients to avoid substitute to be halal compliant. I'm not sure if this.
Well, what I would recommend to that questioner is just go on our website, hmacanada.org, go in the about, or click on the about, the tab that's there, and you're going to see an option there about halal certification. Just read all the information that's there, and if you have any further questions, because we've pretty much given some comprehensive information about what it takes to become halal certified, read that up, and if there are any further questions, don't hesitate in reaching out to us at info@hmacanada.org.
Can I add to that, please?
Yes.
I mean, from a very non-technical standpoint, I'm looking at it from a consumer standpoint, and a cook myself, as someone who cares so much about natural as much as possible. What I notice, and what I've always told my audience from the beginning, is that because people get so overwhelmed with everything, with cooking, with products, I see Muslim women in the stores looking at boxes of ingredients, and I myself, if I see too much complication, I put it back. I don't want a laboratory experiment in my refrigerator. This is actually a really good opportunity for food producers, in my opinion. If you look at the natural product space in the freezer refrigerator section of grocery stores, what is selling to people, and rightly so, is fewer things, less complicated ingredients, more natural things, fewer, if something has 3 or 4 ingredients, I'm like, that's what I want. This should hopefully make it a little easier for producers of halal, because the less products that are complicated that you have to deal with, the less you have to complicate your life in terms of certification. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheikh Omar. But also the rise for organic and halal. I see very, very, very little in the organic halal space. And I have heard from consumers, I should just get organic because I can't find halal and organic, and I don't know what's going on in the halal, so I'll just get organic. They're so confused. And what I tell them is, no, you don't know how, the animals are being processed in that whole situation of organic. So, we need to provide that service there. People will want it. They want that, both of those things. And I think if there are businesses out there who can solve that problem of getting, sustainable, really good information on the animal welfare of their products, and make things organic and halal, I think you're going to carve out a nice space for yourself, because that's what's needed. I see a lot of products from other countries. I was in Turkey for a couple of years, and they have less complicated ingredients. A lot of things are more natural. And I'm hoping they can come into the space. Now they didn't really understand at first, a lot of times I would talk to the companies, they'd say, well, everything is halal. But what they didn't understand was like the value, I think, well, now that's changed, but I'm talking years ago, of bringing in more companies from other countries that just have less complicated ingredients. And, hopefully they can find a space for themselves in the US market for many reasons, also for the ethnic, diversity of the foods. But I think that there's definitely an advantage in simplifying the ingredients in packaged products. If that makes sense.
I'm going to jump in quickly because I think, and I'll speak here as a consumer and not as someone who works for Maple Leaf Foods, in that I echo what you're saying, Sister Yvonne, in terms of the product ingredients being simpler and easier to understand and comprehend. But the reality is that the requirements of how ingredients have to be declared on packaging is very different than how we cook at home. Like I cook at home and I might put in 5 things, but each of those 5 things have many, many things. And so, in our minds, the idea could be as simple as just put 4 things and it's done. But in reality, on a fully made product, it's all spelled out. And the requirements in North America could be different than requirements in, Turkey or Pakistan or Indonesia or wherever else in the world on what needs to be broken out. And I give you an example of that. Right now, the CFI is mandating that vinegar be broken out into multiple parts of what was used to buffer it and so on and so forth. And that's going to turn into 2 or 3 ingredients. And so, at home, we just have vinegar. And so I think where I'm going with this is, ultimately, what's really important for consumers is a halal certification and natural claims, or simple ingredient claims, etc. Because I don't know if that ingredient decks, yes, we can simplify them to a degree, but I don't know if they'll ever be as short as home cooking. You know what I mean? So in order for us to have the confidence that the products are in fact halal to our standard, I think we should demand that there be claims on packaging of halal, natural, organic, and all the other claims that consumers are wanting. I think that's the best way for consumers to just simplify it.
Definitely, I think simplifying is key, but health and wellness is going to be, and as it should be, top priority, because you can have lots of ingredients and products and very few ingredients, but if they aren't geared towards the health and wellness, consumers are so smart today. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing that they're digging into what's in that thing that's in that thing. And as a halal industry, we're supposed to have that transparency, that technology and all of that stuff that tells consumers from the beginning, like what is actually in their product. That's what people like about halal, which is great. But I think we have to make wellness a top priority. And I think businesses have that, they can decide to do that or not, but that's what consumers are going to want.
If I may jump in just to add a few comments to that, regarding the first thing about the ingredients. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now from a technical side because that's all I see all the time. And it's far more complicated than actually what is declared. So I would say many a times that what you see on the packaging is really simplified versus what really goes on behind the scenes. I'll give you one example, natural ingredients. You're going to see that. That's actually just a banner. But natural ingredients can make reference to hundreds of things. Many times people think it's something related to plant or fruit, but it's also inclusive of animal or modified milk ingredients. That's a banner that includes so many different things. And in there, you got your whey and your rennet and all that stuff. It's all inside there. So yes, there are techniques that are employed to try and simplify it, where they create these banners. But the reality is, depending on what type of product this food item may be, it's either going to be, if say, for example, it's a meat product, yes, you can go ahead and do all the organic stuff and make it as simple as possible. But if it's going to be something like dessert, simple thing like chocolate, then it gets a bit more complicated depending on what type of product the manufacturer wants to put out there. But coming back to the second point about wellness, remember, the industry is consumer driven. So the consumer, they're going to have to be as vocal as they can be. And today, there's so many platforms where they can voice what they want. And the industry is going to hear them more easier now than they could have heard them 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So it's now, if this is what the consumer wants, they need to be vocal, and they need to make sure that they're hitting those inboxes of those manufacturers or making the comments on their social media. And the manufacturers do take notice. I'm sure Nabeel can attest to this, that the manufacturers do take notice. So rather than, I will close off with this, rather than just talking amongst ourselves within our WhatsApp groups, no, you need to be actively communicating to the manufacturers so you get what you truly want.
I think the issue of what's healthy and what's good for us is something that probably needs to be discussed more in our community, and it needs to be understood, because there's definitely differences of understanding or opinion about halal as a standard, or the healthy part of it. I'm just really concerned with so much ingredients in products that we don't understand and we don't know where they're from.
I think it's gonna be a lot another session we have to do about the ingredients and about the standard. But I think we're running out of time. We need to take some more questions. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're trying to get everybody's involved. So another question that came prior before we get into the live questions. Somebody asked how much trade in halal between Canada and other partner countries in 2020, and what kind of obstacles hampering the development of trade in halal products in Canada. I can answer this from my humble knowledge, when I did my research back in 2018, 2019. The numbers I gathered, it's just for the food industry, between the value of the market in Canada between $1.5 billion to $2 billion only for the food sector, not involving the other areas. But it's continued to grow. I don't have the exact updated numbers, and there's nothing to be hampering the development. It's actually moving very fast. Countries are coming in. We've seen this in our show. Many countries are showing interest in the Canadian market. Although we're not as big as the US, but for some reason they see it as a more regulated market, more concentrated market in one area, with much like a bigger population of community in one particular section of North America, and it's been seen in the last few years how the growth of halal by opening big supermarkets and like huge, like Adonis, Iqbal Foods, and so much more, that it give us the chance to go and shop as we are shopping in places like Freshco, like Walmart. It's a similar concept where it's halal product. Even Walmart is having a big section of halal now. Freshco, other places, Loblaws. So we're seeing that growth. Me personally, as a consumer, not as a show organizer, I've seen it in the last 10 years since I moved to Canada. And I think it's continuing to grow, and with the support of people like yourself and other in the industry, who are getting up to elevate the standard and make sure that we are growing in the right direction. And I think it's nothing stopping it. It's going to continue to grow. We need more. We still need more. We still require more of halal products and services, because the population of Muslims is growing due to the birth rate and due to the immigration, the influx of immigrants from Muslim countries, and also to jump into the questions. There are questions directly to certain people directly, and there are questions in general. We're gonna see which one. Sheikh Subedar, how can the online halal marketplace contribute to solve consumer reaching the halal of food, cosmetics, beauty, and Islamic goods? Also, same concern for a business-to-business company in Canada and international. Is that clear?
If I understand it, if the online community, meaning those of us who are on social media and so forth, If you want more halal products, I'm just going to echo what I said before. You need to demand it. We as a certifier, if we're going to go to a company and we want to offer our certification services, but they don't see a need for that because their consumer has never asked for it, they're just going to tell us, have a nice day. But if you're going to have people, say for example, when it comes to cosmetics, there's what, L'Oreal or MAC or something, and you want to ensure that the ingredients that are inside there are halal, you're going to have to ask them actively that we want halal. We are not sure about some of your practices or whatever. You need to open up and speak your mind to them, and they'll listen to you. And once they're going to hear that, oh, there's like 3 inquiries, 5 inquiries, 15 inquiries. Okay, we need to start paying attention to this because there's a legitimate demand for this type of service in our market segment. So they need to start using social media to their advantage in reaching out, and you'll definitely bring a change in a short period of time.
And I've seen in our show, our consumers more, they like to see the product, try the product, test the product. We had a company for the cosmetic, for example, My Cosmetics. They came in from US and they showcased the product, and people were very interested to see it and try it out. And I think there is great to have the online presence, but also you have to be there in front of your customer, trying to show them the products, let them test it. And I think it's the easiest way. This way, it's be a trade show.
That will be on the secondary level.
Yeah.
The first is that the demand has to be created.
Yeah.
And we're so super active right now on social media. Become active in this area, reaching out and making that demand.
Yes, no problem. And also, you know, people are you know, asking like questions like beyond. Okay, that's something. Okay, I will go for next one. Do you need to submit certification? Okay, do you need to submit for certification spices like cumin, mustard seeds, between others in North America?
For our certification, yes, we want the complete list, every single thing from A to Z. We want to know what's there. And then from there, we make a decision whether it's certifiable or not.
Okay, perfect. And also,
Nabeel will know. Nabeel's had this experience time and time again.
Yeah, I think maybe the question here was if it's just a single ingredient cardamom packet, does that need to be certified? Maybe it need to be verified.
No, yeah, it doesn't need to be certified. It needs to be verified. Yes.
Right, and if cardamom is an ingredient in a larger ingredient deck in a product, of course you would submit the entire thing for certification. Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing is I wanted to, somebody's asking about the deadline for the exhibition. Well, the deadline is June of, it's March 1st for the last register, because I have other shows, so I'm confused with deadlines. But yeah, for the Halal Expo, it's March 1st is the last time to book a space, but the earlier the better, because to secure your position at the show, because we are filling up the spaces very quickly, because we are very close to the show now, and the show is going to be in May. So I would suggest to move faster and contact one of our staff members to proceed. The other things I wanted to, somebody was asking, would you say the word halal frightens non-Muslims? If we want to make the halal products viral and available for everyone, what can halal brands do to ensure non-Muslims do not fear the term halal? Also, what are the guys? What are you guys doing in promoting the definition of halal to non-Muslim? Before you guys answer this question, I would say from our point of view, when we did Halal Expo, we made sure that it's appealing to every ethnicity, every religion background. We had people from all sort of religion or background, and we basically promoting the trade, and we made sure we presented in a way that is economical and business business sound. So it was very well respected and very well received by most. So I leave that same question to the rest. If you would like to come jump in and
Sure.
answer.
I would just say that my experience has been that I don't think brands are afraid of halal. I think they truly don't want to offend or disrespect our community. And so in working with someone who understands the community, understands how to communicate effectively with the Muslim audience, the halal consumer audience, is probably the best bet. It's probably what a lot of them are looking for. You know, a lot of them that I've worked with and spoken to, they've said, we really want to launch a halal product. We're just not sure what messaging is appropriate, or, you know, we don't really understand the terms that we should be using, the words like for Ramadan and Eid. And so they really kind of need to work probably with someone who does understand those things. And I think I've been able to help a lot of brands do that. But I think there's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to work together in that space, because it really is, you know, I don't think that they're so afraid. I think they just want to do it right.
Great. So that's a good answer. So we're running out of time, but if you can give us a quick answer, Sheikh Omar and Nabeel, on that question, so we can do the closing.
Well, quickly, our experience has been a bit different. There are areas in the city where people actively avoid halal. And that's because of some of the negative online propaganda that has been made about halal, that halal funds terrorism. Or halal is Muslim associated, we want to have nothing to do with that. So you'll see things like that west of the GTA and so forth. And the only thing that we can do is answer those queries. We've even taken to mainstream media. I did an interview on CTV regarding this. But, you know, beyond explaining that there's no substance behind these allegations, there's not much more that we can do, because you do have, unfortunately, an area of the community that they've made their mind up. You can tell them that basically it's nighttime when it's actually, so you can tell them it's daytime and they want to believe it's nighttime, and they're not going to believe otherwise, right? Okay. So that's just a reality we have to deal with, unfortunately.
Good answer, good answer. And Nabeel?
I'll provide a quick answer here. So there's two streams to this as well. One is halal brands trying to attract general population of Canadians, and what they need to do essentially is not make their package look like it's a advertising for a mosque. Okay, so the package needs to have messaging of halal for the consumers who are looking for it, but it doesn't need to be, you know, halal plastered all over the packaging. It could be very small. In fact, if you look at the new products that Mina launched, we did change our graphics and our logo and and how we present the information so that it can be presented in a more digestible way for the Gen Pop consumer. Okay, that's one thing, and I can go on for 15 minutes, but we don't have time here, so I'll cut it short there. But the other one is the non-halal brands and them wanting to attract Muslim consumers. There, I think, to provide confidence to halal consumers, they need to have certification, and they need to have certification in a way that is how kosher is presented on pack. And it doesn't need to be at the front and a big giant logo. It could be a simple logo, like you know, HMA has an H and a circle. And if you're looking for it, you'll find it. But if you're not looking for it, it's sort of invisible to you. And I think that in terms of messaging, in terms of communication, that's how the right approach is, potentially. That's my opinion based on the experience that I've had. And to echo what Sheikh Omar said, there are elements that believe that you know, they should need halal, and actually beyond just irrational reasons, there are some people have rational reasons in their mind, which are, I'm not Muslim, I don't want to eat something that has a Muslim prayer on it. And we did see something like this happen at a restaurant in Oakville, where consumers actually walked away because it had a halal stamp on their menu. Mm-hmm. So I would say that it's not for every brand, but it is for most brands, and it needs to be communicated appropriately so that you're not, you know, alienating your existing consumers either.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, I think you guys said it all in a perfect way, and I think halal continues to be the brand of choice, the the food, the lifestyle. I think it's proven to be effective and healthy. And I think hopefully our other brothers in other communities will adapt and have will be more appealing. And that's what we are trying to convey. And as Nabeel mentioned, and Sheikh Omar and Yvonne, we need to appeal more to all communities, and by the branding, by the way we present ourselves, we should lead by example. We should show the good things that we do, and that's what makes everybody favored halal products. Even our brand, we as we mentioned, we try to show something more appealing. We put more color and more. Although we have the word halal because it's halal show, but it's not. It's about trade, about business, about connecting everybody from every aspect of life. I want to thank all of you today for supporting us. I want to thank also the people who registered for this webinar. We apologize if we didn't take all the questions because we're running out of time. There's so much to talk about halal. I think we can spend many sessions, but we have to be limited on this one. This will be a broadcast also into social media very soon. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you this coming May 12 to 14 at the International Center for Halal Expo Canada 2022, where we feature all the products and all the services of halal lifestyle. And everybody will be there. And we look forward to seeing also Yvonne with us, to see you in person in Canada in May. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and stay safe. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.